up, folks? Sean, the Average Angler, coming at you with another great video. And we are venturing into September, and wow, the last third of the year is upon us. The great thing is, after this weekend, Labor Day weekend, we will start to get our lakes back here in my home area. So today we're going to be covering some of my favorite techniques for September. I've already watched some of the other videos that are out, so I'm not going to cover some of those things. I'm going to give you some different things here that I really like to do that can produce some really big fish and a lot of fish for you this time of year. Depending on where you're at, things can change rapidly. Fall for us, we'll see a transition in September, but fall really kind of hits around October here. So if you're new to the channel, you like this kind of content, hit that subscribe button down there below. Join the Average Angler community. I'd really appreciate it. All right, so let's get into it. Let's start with reaction baits. And we're gonna cover a few things here for guys in different areas, different types of water, those types of things. If you have grass you're still dealing with, I really like to get into the buzz bait this time of year. This is a Brazalo Buzz bait. That is a Phat pack baits, skipper toad. And you can also do this just with the toad. This happens to be the 4.0 size, the 4-inch. They also come in a 3.5. If you're dealing with a little bit smaller fish, that 3.5 is a great size and option that the fish don't always get to see from other companies. So that's really cool. With or without the buzzbait, that skipper toad kicks and swims really, really well. So with that, if you don't have as much grass around and that kind of thing, it's a great time to cover water with a Choppo, right? That's kind of a real live type color. I'm going to stay bait fish, but I'll show you the one that I really like, this one. Okay, it's kind of black on top, silverish to pearl. These hooks are sharp, they're stuck in my hand. A little bit of red on the throat. Just a great bait fish profile. This is the 105. That's really the size that I would go with right now. If you are on a lake where you have smaller fish, you can always drop down to the smaller size. If the water's clear, something in the transparent realm can be really, really good for you. I really like this one in transparent water. These are the 90 millimeter, by the way. That is a Berkley Choppo. Now you can also use the Whopper Plopper, same thing. They spin opposite directions. Sometimes one works better than the other. The sound's a little bit different. It just depends on what your lake's getting pressured by. They can be fantastic as we transition into fall. I pretty much keep it simple in that if there's grass, I'll throw the skipper toad or the skipper toad on a buzzbait. If there's not grass, then I like to go to the Choppo. Okay, it's got those treble hooks hanging below. It grabs onto grass, so it's just better to fish the optimal tool for where we're at. All right, next. Great way to cover water and trigger big bites, of course, is with your LV 500s or rattle bait of your choice. I just happen to like the LV. The fish in my area seem to be partial to the LV. As you can see, we're sticking with bait fish colors. This one is called AG Wakasage. This one is NC Ghost Minnow. Ghost Minnow, really hard to beat. It's a great color, mimics a lot of bait fish, very, very effective. All right, and another bait, if you are not familiar with it as an alternate, is the Aruku Shad. This one happens to be the 75. It's bigger. I have a lot of big shad in my lake, so I like to throw the bigger size. The thing about the Aruku Shad is it stands up, nose down on the bottom. So it keeps a profile sitting very much like this when it's on the bottom. Okay, then you rip it up, let it fall back down. This time of year, right now, I'm really using these as a search bait, and I'm yo-yoing them off of the bottom, letting them hit, sit down there. You can even shake them a little bit while it's on the bottom, then pull it up, let it fall. Great way to cover water and find schools of fish. When you find a school, You can do all kinds of things, sit there and catch them for quite a while. So it's a lot of fun. Great way to cover water. Look, guys, during the month, I'm going to get into some ways to fish these, all right? Line specifics, all that kind of stuff, where right now we're kind of covering the baits. And the next one is going to kind of go along with that as a crankbait. Now, this happens to be the Swank Strike King Hybrid Hunter. Same type of thing. If you got grass around, the Hybrid Hunter is a fantastic bait, or the Swank. This is the 66. They have the bigger one also. Again, based on your size of fish and bait in the body of water. But these are fantastic crankbaits to throw around grass. We're not talking about the thick clump stuff, but maybe where you got a little more sparse stuff. These things will rip through grass just like a chatterbait. Very similar, except it's a bait they're not seeing a lot in those areas. Bait this time of year. They're actually a fantastic bait all year long, but they really tend to shine when we start making that fall transition, that bait's starting to come up towards the surface and shallower water, and we can cover a lot of water with that bait and catch some really good fish with it. Okay, if grass is not your issue, then I really like the Lucky Craft Square Bill. Okay, this happens to be the 2.5. Again, my lake has bigger shad, up to 5-6 inch shad in it, so I like to go with the 2.5. Any type of shad color you like. Okay, I've got that one, I've got this, we've got the good old sexy shad type color. Okay, these will cast really well. They got a pretty good weight to them. You need to throw them on a heavy cranking rod. Okay, I like a 705 type, 725, something like that. I do prefer a cranking rod with a more parabolic bend. The square bill is a fantastic way. Again, we're covering water to locate groups of fish. Once we find groups, we can slow down and pick them off with other baits, or we can just stick with the baits we're using. All right, so those are some good reaction style baits for you guys that have grass. This time of year, the good old punch rig is just a deadly way to get them. Now, typically, I'm gonna start out punching a little later in the day. If you're on a tidal fishery, you gotta kind of go with the tides. But if you're on a lake, they really tend to bunch up in those thicker clumps later in the day when the sun gets high. They can be out roaming in the morning looking for easy fish to eat. Now, this time of year, I'm going to change colors. I really like the blue craw, but as you see, this one's got some red in it. This is the falcon craw. Now, because the grass tends to start not being quite as healthy this year, we tend to be able to get away with a little lighter weight on our punch rigs. Always best to punch the lightest weight you can get away with to get it through. Again, that bait there is the Strike King Rage Bug, Magnum Rage Bug. Okay, again, I like the Magnum. My fish are bigger, the bait's bigger, the crawdads are bigger, so I like to go to that Magnum Rage Bug, and this is the Falcon Craw. If you're more bluegill based, that blue craw can be a really good one. Okay, both baits have green pumpkin coloring in it. They just have some either blue or red to mix in with it, so it looks more natural, like the forage. We're always trying to match the forage. For when we do locate those fish, or if we're on a deeper body of water where we're fishing something like a rock pile, ledges, those kinds of things. From now through winter, I will not be putting this down, okay? 1/2 ounce to 3/4 ounce football jig. That's that Phat Packs 3.8 Beasty bug back there. Again, I really like it because it's got the darker areas of the claws. I used to use a Sharpie for that. These come that way, okay? Fantastic crawdad trailer. It's buoyant, so it floats up a little bit. Oftentimes, it'll hold your jig up like this if you let it sit and you're shaking it a little bit on the bottom. This is a great way to pick off those fish that either you mark on your electronics, or if you find fish in an area with your reaction baits and they stop eating your reaction baits. The jig. I got one more for you. This technique is for everybody, so that's the great thing. Doesn't matter if you got grass or not grass, you can throw this thing just about anywhere you want. And that is the Bass Union Shaky Head. Now, I talk about the Shaky Head a lot. I really love the Shaky Head. 3 brands that I use on a regular basis: the Bass Union, the Owner screw lock you see here, and the Berkley Frenzy nail. I like the Frenzy nail a lot in the wintertime. It stands that bait straight up in the air, as you've seen in the underwater videos. This head, as you can see, the line that it's on is going to be more of a 45-degree angle. The nice thing about this head is it works really well on this worm that the fish seem to like so much this time of year, and that is the Zman FattyZ. Probably one of the best worms I know of in the fall. Okay, it's going to stand very similar to this, whereas that Frenzy nail stands more like this. I don't know what it is, something about the fall time. I just like this presentation better. Very weedless, comes through stuff really, really well, including rocks, catches a lot of fish, holds that Elastec really well. And if you wanted to, you can always put a stopper up here to hold it there, but I've never had a problem with it. This EWG holds that head in place, head of the worm in place really well. This is a fantastic way to play cleanup when you find a group of fish that's not going to spook or alert the fish and make them take off. Okay, it's very subtle. You can throw it on a spinning rod. You can throw it on a casting rod with lighter line. Lighter meaning, 12 pound. I wouldn't go too much over 12. I really prefer 10. But this is a great way, whether you're pond hopping, out on Clear Lake. And one of the places that really turns on this time of year in the fall for this bait is docks. Again, I'm not really sure why, other than most likely bait is getting up around docks at certain times of the day. Not to say it's going to be there all day, but the bass are pretty hip and quick to learn that they will come to them. They don't have to chase them down. They can hang out, and when they come, they're going to feed. Now, the other thing you always have around docks is other species of prey, meaning crawdads, bluegill. The plankton comes in, those smaller fish come in to eat it, and the bass will sit and lay in wait. Okay, this will go on until you get your first real cold front. For us, the thing I've noticed is it's a freezing night. It's that first freezing night where the temperatures dip below freezing, and all of a sudden, those fish, the bait, everything just seems to take off to deeper water, and they're starting to get into winter mode at that point. We're a little ways away from that, but then again, it really sets the fish up where they're at. They're easy to catch, and it can be a lot of fun. So that's a bonus tip for you guys. Keep that in mind. I wanted to give you something different than everybody else's. We will be covering some of these techniques throughout the coming week on setups and where to do this and that kind of thing, because setups can make a huge difference in your success, and they're not always the way that I normally like to do it, but I've learned it is the way to do it. All right, I'm Sean the Average Angler. If you're still here, we're practically friends. Hit that subscribe button down below. I'd really appreciate it. Thanks for taking time out of your day to watch. We'll see you on the next one.